Okay. And we're on.
David? Can you hear me, David?
Yes.
Donna just called. She's having some internal AOL problems at home, but she'll be on in just a minute.
All righty.
Here she is, I think. Hello, Donna. I'm going to check David and see if Maya left a message. I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be here today.
Okay. Thank you. All right. As we are continuing to welcome people into the conversation, again, this meeting is being recorded of the Joint Logistics and Research Committee meeting of the Maryland Lynching Truth and Reconciliation Commission. My name is David Armenti. I am a commissioner and chair of the research committee, as well as I work for the Maryland Center for History and Culture, formerly the Maryland Historical Society in Baltimore. Appreciate everybody joining today, especially it being dangerously close to the holidays. So everybody's kind of getting in that mode, I'm sure. It actually already is the holidays, right? Last night was the first night of Hanukkah. I should know. So we're in the midst of it. So again, if anybody who is joining us from the public would like to either put their name and affiliation in the chat, thank you for that, Jimmy, and or unmute themselves and announce themselves to the group, we'd be happy to get to know you and have you be a part of the conversation here. Some of our goals for today, really just to kind of recap and set the stage for some of what we're hoping to accomplish in 2023. we were able to hold multiple public commission hearings during the course of 2022, and definitely had some lessons learned from that, and trying to regroup again for 2023, so we can be successful in our pursuits as a commission. For those that are, can I unmute Donna? Let's see. I can't. Maybe Chris, you could try to unmute Donna.
Yeah, I'm looking right there and I see, oh, okay, I'm clicking on it. It's not letting me do it. I'm clicking on where the, let me see.
I don't think you can in Google. I think only Donna can unmute herself, but I don't know from her end what she's seeing, like in terms of the layout of the page.
Yeah, because I do see on the microphone doesn't flash. So let me see. Remove. No, I don't want to remove her from the call. Pin Donna to your main screen.
Is she connecting from a computer or a telephone?
Well, we'll hope that we can get that figured out, or Donna gets that figured out. But good that you, Brett, are at least here to communicate the messages as needed. So I guess Maya, I guess generally speaking, we don't have currently any hearings scheduled for 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Before we do so, it's more definitely want to get some of our operations and procedures in order. Mm-hmm. And part of that will be what was discussed at the full commission meeting last week, which was to have a retreat, so to speak, that will also coincide potentially with one of our public meetings. The idea being that we get folks on the same page, ideally in person with each other, to have more effective coordination as we're looking forward. But that is still in development. So for commissioners, I think for the few commissioners here, we already knew that, so that's probably not an announcement for anybody on the commission side. But for those on the public side, that may coincide with one of the public commission meetings. So we're still determining what the format and structure of that will look like.
Yeah, and the one thing I know, David, Stephanie has sent you and I an email today to just kind of stress to everybody. I think they're waiting for all commissioners to complete the doodle poll. So if anyone in our meeting today hasn't done the doodle poll, please fill that out so they can kind of make a final decision for the retreat date. And she said there is no final decision on venue, as that will be made after the date is selected. The executive team's desire is for the retreat to be in person, and just making a reminder just in case. And then she's awaiting a reply from Joy to see if she's available to come today to capture our meeting notes, but she probably wasn't since she's not here today. But the good thing is we actually do record, and we can share this recording with Joy if she needs anything. But so far, that's it. And at that meeting, like, I did kind of bring back up the subject of like what would be the need of the logistics committee. And so Stephanie let me know that she and Joy right now are really the logistics team, and they're doing everything. So I think leading up into the retreat, like, we don't really need, like, our committee doesn't really need to do anything, but at the retreat, that's going to be where we kind of discuss what our next role will be leading up to the next set of hearings. So I just wanted to kind of share that with the group, just because I brought it up and I thought it was something worth discussing and apropos, so that we can kind of not keep coming to these meetings and trying to figure out what we're doing next. And I would agree that, like, Stephanie's been handling quite a bit in terms of logistically trying to get things together for the hearing. So if we have a meeting scheduled for the next month ahead of the retreat, that probably will be canceled, but I'm happy to still come in and support you, David, in regards to the research efforts for those meetings. And I see Chris has his hand up. So if you want to ask,
because I know we had mentioned it before, and we wanted to check with the bylaws just to see what it said regarding the commissions and committees and what was in the law or what was subsequent to the law. And Emily had found it and sent it to me. And specifically, it says Section 3, the commission may create committees as needed to perform tasks related to the duties and responsibilities of the commission. Committees may be created in accordance with the following. A, committees shall be established by majority vote of the commission. B, the chair shall appoint committee members and reassign or remove committee members. C, interested parties such as subject matter experts who are not official commission board members may advise or may provide input to the committees on a pro bono basis. So basically, my read of that is that the commission was able to create committees, and along those lines probably would be able to dissolve a committee in and of itself too. It's not something that has to be in there based on the law.
Right. But thanks, Chris. I admittedly, we did talk about the bylaws at the last meeting because we were starting to talk about the retreat at the last leadership meeting, and just wanting them to understand that, like, there's like so many people that came in, and they, even though the stuff is like all on our website, like no one that was new really had an orientation. And so I'm hoping that at the beginning of the retreat, it'll be like a little mini orientation for people that are new, but then also a reminder for people who've been there all along. Like, admittedly, I've not looked at our bylaws in over a year probably. So I think it's going to be really important to kind of revisit that so that we all know what we're working towards with our goals of the upcoming hearings.
Agreed. And Chris and Emily, thank you for unearthing that. That I also have not seen that language in a long time. So I think it'll be helpful even for us that have been around for a while to get that refresher and how that can, support our coordination in the next year. Jimmy, and all set. If you don't mind, I don't know if you're still there, but I did want to express my appreciation for your work at least the Baltimore County hearing. So I didn't know if you, speaking of kind of coordination around hearings, I know that was so definitely a lot of pieces came together very quickly, and definitely many thanks to you and your family team for helping that come off. So I didn't know if you had any specific questions for us or comments about that process.
Our goal is really just to make sure that we are able to be here to support the commission and make sure that the hearings and the AV portions go off without a glitch, and also just really work towards the scheduling, like when the first hearing will happen. That way we can just go ahead and get those dates blocked out. And I know, some time before you have those dates, but really just to really be in a support standpoint and just learn everything that we can to make sure that we can capture the hearings in a way that really represents all the hard work and energy that you good folks have been putting into this.
Yeah, I would agree with everything that he just said. And also, just from a behind the scenes perspective, because we will be live, we will get, one shot to really meet our goal. And so the more that we understand the goal for the commission and who has what role in terms of the date of the event, the more proactive we can be in making sure that we can not only troubleshoot if any issues do arise, but be thinking ahead of the game so that if we can, enhance the experience for those that are physically there in the space and or those that are watching, we will be able to do that efficiently.
Absolutely understand all of that, and thank you again for your efforts. And we certainly as a commission took some of that experience to heart, not just in June with the Baltimore County hearing, but with the subsequent October and November hearings, that we should technically have a longer runway on the planning and putting all the various pieces together. Again, I think that's something that's understood, but it just kind of gets lost in what everybody's other day-to-day responsibilities are. Many of us having the full-time jobs in addition to the commission work. So it's definitely noted on the tech side. And like I said early on, there aren't any hearings currently scheduled, but unless we get an extension on the commission, which is another possibility, I suppose, ideally they would all be done in the 2023 calendar year, which already feels very daunting, because we've had 5 public hearings so far. So therefore, there could be upwards of 10 to 12 more, depending on whether certain counties are being combined or jurisdictions are being combined. So certainly we'll be in touch with the various vendors and to make sure that those pieces are in place, so it's not a problem on the day of. But thank you for being here. And I think to Maya's point, and to the point about coordination, commissioners having county assignments is very important for laying the groundwork on the hearing planning. And our current project manager, Stephanie Thompson, was mentioned, who I think it's yet to be determined whether she'll continue to be a staff person with the commission into the next year. So that's another aspect of this year-to-year transition that we're trying to figure out, because she has often been the point person with not only vendors and contractors, but with some of our local affiliates on the ground in various counties. So that's another piece that we're going to have to figure out, to make sure that our communication is strong with those various parties.
And Dave, if I could hop in too, I just realized the one thing I neglected to mention in regard to the retreat is that they did ask Stephanie Thompson to be the facilitator for that retreat, so that we can kind of make sure that we're moving along throughout the day and hitting our target goals for the meeting. So just to share that, I want to make sure I didn't miss out on sharing that. Looks like Brett has a question. Oh no, okay. Sorry, Brett. I just saw your hand raised.
I was waving at Donna. My
I was going to say my girlfriend's back and there's going to be trouble. Hey, la, my girlfriend's back.
Hello, I would echo appreciation too for Jimmy and Offset as well. I thought you guys did an amazing job. And I'm sorry, I needed to go off screen really quickly. Sorry.
Thank you.
Well, one thing that will help with the coordination and planning is that we have some prior experience having done Baltimore County. So I hope that helps to add a level of comfort that this won't be our first time presenting this type of content to your constituents, as well as to the people that will be gathered and collected. So I hope that you can have a level of comfort knowing that we've walked this path with you before, and coming from the storytelling and filmmaking environment, We definitely have some tricks up our sleeves that can help us date of if we have some things going on. And the more involved we are in the planning, like sitting for the meetings and having an understanding about what the overview and the goals are, can help us to be better prepared to help you as well.
Absolutely. And I apologize that I don't honestly at my fingertips have the information about the uh like the bidding process for future hearings and kind of the how that process plays out. That's something we should definitely, in our committees be clearer about with the public, in addition to what can be gotten at the full commission meetings, which again is the second Monday of the month. So that's something we'll get. Obviously, once we have the dates on the calendar, we'll also verify more clearly what that bidding process looks like for those potential folks to be involved. And to the point of coordination leading up to hearings, I mentioned commissioners are supposed to have county assignments. That's another thing, to Maya's point, newer commissioners or even commissioners that have been around for a while, and the contacts change on the county side as well as on the commissioner side. So making sure that we are talking to the right people and having smaller group conversations is important. I know for my part, I am a liaison to Carroll and Frederick County, and there's definitely been a lapse in communication. So I, like other commissioners, need to be laying that groundwork so we are familiar to not only the people involved, but getting ourselves familiar with the communities that we're engaging with, not just on the day of the hearing, but ahead of the hearing.
I would agree with that, David. I definitely haven't been in touch with my liaison groups either. One of mine just recently reached out to me like a week ago, but outside of that, like there hasn't been any full-on engagement. So I do think that as we kind of do our retreat, that's something that really needs to be touched upon. And like, I don't think that we ever really did a good job of figuring out what that role looks like what all it entails, like what were the liaisons supposed to do outside of, like making initial contact and like letting people know that the hearings were coming. But if there was like something related to the planning and things like that, I think that could be greatly improved.
Definitely. Well, I guess kind of since there's not too much more on new announcements with logistics, because there's still kind of a lot yet to be seen here as we transition into the next year. I did want to give some space to talk about research coordination, especially since we have Brett Tyler and Donna Tyler Holly here with us from Heritage Associates, our contracted partner for the research side of the commission. We've been working together for, I guess, a little over a year now with Heritage Associates, and it's been wonderful to have that team as we had the hearings here in 2022, but also thinking about even those counties that have not had scheduled hearings. What are the priorities? What is the workflow? What is the division of labor between Brett and Donna, commissioners, students, and other university affiliated folks that have been doing work on this project as well? Because there have been various parties involved. I think that's been a good thing, but it's also been a source of confusion as far as what work lived where and where that research ultimately ended up. So that's part of my task, is to pull everything together and make sure that the right people are talking to each other, and ultimately that we have the material all in one place. So that would be a continued challenge on the research side of things. But we've talked about a few things with Heritage Associates that could improve our process, or at least ideas to continue to have an effective team with regard to research. So Brett and Donna, I don't know if would you mind maybe talking a little bit about some of some of the lessons learned in 2022, but also maybe some of the ideas for improving process moving into 2023, including some of the potential increased student engagement.
Sure, David. Hello, everyone. I think the biggest lesson we learned, and I suspect that the rest of the people who are active in the project learned as well, excuse me, is that the awareness level among the general public, institutions like the Black churches, fraternities and sororities, and even when we've discovered actual or potential descendants of lynching victims, I would tell you that they are not generally aware of the commission's work. And surprisingly, in some respects, the interest level has not been what we had thought it would be. So I would say that's the biggest surprise and disappointment. And toward that, we are proposing, we've had one conversation with David, and Don and I have put together a draft document that we can share with the Research and Logistics Committee after this meeting. But essentially, we are seeking to use college interns, graduate level college interns, because we think they're more disciplined and more sophisticated, to do two things. One is we would propose to have them raise the level of awareness about the commission's work, and we would ask that they prepare a marketing plan, and if that plan received this committee and the commission's approval, we would then ask them to implement the plan. But the plan is designed or proposed to use non-paid media to the greatest extent possible, non-paid events such as public radio, public television, and other events, and to bring up in the public's mind what we are doing and the importance of what we're doing. And we would ask that they would propose a year-long program, marketing plan to do that. The second proposal is that we would have a different set of graduate level college students working on the quality of the research and the quality of the research processes, so that we could reduce the amount of duplication that's going on. We could have a feeling of inclusion and cooperation among all parties. And also, we think that there's some things that have not been thoroughly researched and documented. They may have been researched, but at the documents that we have access to, we suspect that there's more to be learned. And specifically, we're thinking about the investigations of the lynchings and all that was involved with those investigations. So to sum it up, one group, when I say group, probably two students would work under our supervision to raise awareness using generally non-paid tactics over the coming year. And another group would work on the quality of the research processes and the research results, documentation of the research, so that it's accessible and complete. Donna, did you have anything to add?
Is my mic on?
Yes.
No, I didn't want to add anything to that, but I would like to, if the time is right, give an overview of what we've uncovered in our work with the Reverend Teichert and the PG County groups that are looking into these lynching investigations as well. I'll start by talking about Thomas Jurix because he's the easiest one to talk about. We don't know anything about him, and we are not having much luck finding out about him. We did learn that he seems to have originated in Frederick County and migrated to PG, but we don't know anything in terms of his family, or we don't have any links to finding living descendants for him. The other three victims we are a bit more promising. For John Henry Scott, we've learned that he did have, excuse me, he did have an alias. He was known as Jerry. So that gives us an area of research. We know who the person was who enslaved him, and that this person lived in an area called Fort Foote, which I had never heard of. So that gives us another area of the community to research. We found two men named John Scott in Prince George's County in 1870. The issue there is that the 1870 census doesn't give you relationships. So you don't know who this household is. You can surmise, but you don't really know. So we need to do more research on these two John Scotts, hopefully to find documents other than census records. Stephen Williams, we learned from newspaper research that his father's name was James. So now we can research for James Williams. And we also learned his brother-in-law was a man named James Norris, who lived in Charles County. So now we're looking at the Norris family, hoping to be able to identify Stephen Williams' wife and through her living descendants. The last of the victims was Michael Green. We know that he was married to a woman named Laura Rideout, which is an interesting name to research, much better than if her name had been Smith. We know who her parents are, her sister, her nieces and nephews, and we are pretty certain that we found Michael Green's daughter, Sophia Green. So now we need to determine if she has living descendants. We also found Michael Green in PG County in 1870, living with two other men named Green, who, because of their ages, we are assuming that they are his brothers. So now we're researching all of the Green brothers, and hopefully we'll come up with some descendants that way.
David, I would just add, as you know, we've started with Prince George's County, and we're working with Reverend Teichert, who's been very supportive. And we just, until we receive more specific instructions, we'll continue with Prince George's and subsequent counties that have not had hearings.
Absolutely.
David,
and I mean that links in with some of the earlier points of knowing which hearings are upcoming, and that allowing to prioritize research and genealogy engagement, also making sure that commissioners who have a liaison county, which they should, are helping to lay the groundwork, coordinating with you and myself. That's the idea. I think for commissioners as well as for the public, it's important to understand that Heritage Associates has a dual role. We divided the work plan into genealogical work, so figuring out who the individuals were and their family background, to support writing narratives, but also to support identifying potential descendants who could participate in perhaps the public hearings, if not at least being a part of the public record as evidence of, commission engagement and, uncovering some of that information. That differs from the research case study work, so to speak, which is showing through primary source research what actually occurred during these cases before, during, and after. So there is that distinction as far as the work, and I think that plays into how student interns could be involved as well, and being assigned to, particularly the research and narrative, as well as the marketing piece you mentioned. And I will say that from the executive committee side, the idea of basically subcontracting work to students is, totally good. There was no pushback on that idea, and I didn't see any reason why there would be. And I think it's even more. I would even more so encourage, considering that we have all of the HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, represented on our commission, that working through those commissioners and those departments or their colleagues is a good first step toward, bringing in more student engagement. So that's another. I'd say that's probably another topic of conversation for the January hearing and/or retreat, would be my hope, and with those goals in mind. Yes, Elizabeth.
I just had a question about the response that you've received from some descendants who do not want to be really engaged in the process. And I'm wondering, do you have a sense, or have they explained sort of why that is, what their concerns are, or I'm just wondering if you have a sense of that from things they've said, or maybe they didn't elaborate.
Elizabeth, and I'll ask Donna to chime in. I think in at least 3 occasions, they just fade away. They stop communicating. No one has ever said, to my knowledge, "Oh, leave me alone," or "I'm afraid to come forward." But on at least 3 occasions that I can recall, they just stopped communicating, including a woman who came forward. We didn't know about it. I think she sent an email to David and said, "This is who I am, and I'm descended from this person." And we followed up. David followed up. We even had the chair of the commission to follow up with her, and she just stopped communication. I think, Donna, you had someone recently, who was it, the woman up in, was it Pennsylvania?
Yeah, a woman in Pennsylvania who's descended from the man who was lynched. Brett, help me with his name. From Oklahoma, Choctaw Indian Territory. And she had him in her tree. And when I first contacted her, she was very enthused, very interested. What were we doing? I told her I thought it would be better if we talked instead of email. I sent her my phone number. She emailed me back and said, "What's a good time to talk to you?" I told her nothing. I have contacted her twice since then, no response. Same thing with the lady who's connected to the Hance man from Anne Arundel County. She's been researching. I can tell by her tree on Ancestry that she's constantly researching, faded away altogether. Like Brett said, nobody said, "Go away and leave me alone." But nobody said, "Yes, I'm interested and would like to be a part of this," and then follow through. And I suspect it's a couple of reasons. One may be that it's just an unpleasant subject. Another may be that people put things on their trees, but they know names, but they don't know anything else. And maybe they are afraid of what they'll learn. There could be a couple of reasons why this is happening, but I'm hopeful that students will be able to help us publicize and make our motives clear.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this a little bit last year, as you were in the midst of some of those conversations. And, one of the clear steps that we could take or make more consistent is that, outreach comes from the chair or vice chair of the commission if it seems like it's unclear, because they may not also know, is it official? Is this somebody who is, just putting that stamp on it, perhaps brings a little bit more clarity to it and some of that outreach. So certainly the chair and the vice chair are always willing to do that, whether that's by email or whether it's in a letter format. So please do, continue to communicate that if there's either resistance or just a need for an additional voice in the follow-up.
David, I wanted to ask you, we want to make a couple of alterations to our proposal, but that shouldn't take too long. But can we share it with the research committee, or how do you want to proceed with this?
The work plan proposal.
The work plan, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You can share that. You should be able to reply all to the meeting invite, I believe.
Yeah.
But or if you just reply to me, I can share it out and start a broader conversation if that makes it easier. But yes, the research committee at least would be happy to see that.
Great, thank you. I think that's all we have.
And to Prince George's County being the focus, part of that, which you alluded to, was the engagement of the coalition representative, Reverend Tykert, who is a regular attendee of full commission meetings, as well as commissioner liaison work and ground laid there. So again, it speaks to when those relationships are strong with the local coalitions and others, that supports both the research as well as the hearing coordination moving forward. So that's something that all of our commissioners need to take to heart as we continue that process in the next year.
David, let me just add that the Reverend Tykert is really being cooperative. She's already reached out to somebody that she knows with the surname Rideout. And Brett has shared with her some of the other surnames we've uncovered. And she is going to be helpful, I think, in looking for people with those surnames. Because before, all we knew was Michael Green. Now we know Rideout, we know Brown. And I can't remember the other name off the top of my head, but she has been made aware of this, and I think she's going to be helpful.
Yeah, and there are counties or individual researchers where there's some level of ownership of the research, for lack of a better term, and I know that that's also the job of the commission, is to, if somebody has their own project or, is less interested in collaboration, we can't force anybody to do anything they don't want to do, but, using our personal relationships to hopefully build on research that's already been done, because we also don't want to duplicate research or spend too much time. We definitely want to be collaborative, and that will work for, in all of our favor. So again, as those conversations with local folks or other researchers happen, we want to assure them that they'll be credited as needed, or if there are certain things that are ongoing or that they want to publish about, what have you. I'm not saying that situation has happened, but if that were to happen, we just want to assure people that collaborate with us that, our intentions are to show the most full and complete truth that we can. And it's not about the commission necessarily owning research or saying that it was done all by us, because that's clearly not the case and across the board.
Regarding the Rideout connection, I know Bernadette Pruitt, who used to work at the Maryland Historical Trust. She's been doing a lot of family research and ancestry work, and is connected. Her family's connected to the Rideouts, and so I don't know if she's someone that you may have spoken with, but I think she might be helpful insofar as it's an Anne Arundel County Rideout connection. I mean, as you said, it's such a distinctive name.
Yes.
And I don't know, Chris, if you have her email. I don't know if you're in touch with her. I can probably find it, but I don't have it presently.
She's usually of course, this week is a short week. We're only open, we're open through Thursday this week. And she's there every week, at least once or twice. Usually the last Wednesday, would be Friday. But so I can definitely find that. Do you know her already, Donna, by any chance?
No, I don't. But if you share her contact information, I'll be happy to reach out to her.
Okay. Sure, I'll do that.
And I know she was very interested in the work of the commission. We talked about it before she retired from state service. So.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Right. You're right. That's a big prominent name in Anne Arundel County anyway, if not more.
Just ironically, I think I shared this with David. When my wife's family migrated from Virginia to Washington, D.C., they lodged with the Rideout family, who had originated in Baltimore. But I think two of the sons moved to Washington, D.C. For work, and that's where my wife's relatives, as they would move up from Virginia to Washington, they lodged with the Rideouts.
Is she still in touch with them?
No.
Okay.
All gone.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I guess as far as priority counties, so to speak, I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. I really think that's kind of for the whole commission to determine. I can't speak to the status of communication and engagement for all of the various counties. I know we had an eye toward the Upper Eastern Shore. However, that would encompass Kent and Caroline County and Queen Anne's. However, I don't believe there's a particularly active local coalition associated with the Memorial Project, which is typically how we've gained contacts in those areas. Although I know, I believe, Brett, at least we had the conversation with some individuals from Kent County, and they also had that May soil collection event that the chair attended. So we do have some coordination with the Upper Eastern Shore, but I don't think anything like real substantive got discussed beyond that. But in my mind, that is one of the areas that is, somewhat of a warm contact and area to investigate.
Yeah, I think can't remember. I think it's the Kent County NAACP. The woman who heads that, Victoria, I believe is the first name. Very interested in this work. Personally, very interested.
Okay.
I'll send you her.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I'll send you the information when I dig it up.
And in that region too, Chris, if you're still there, I know one of the case studies, the 1863 case that we knew very little about, was it an intern or a fellow staff over there that uncovered a little bit more information about, it was John Fields, I believe.
Right. Matthew Novick did. But he's the one who's written the biography on him.
Okay. Yeah, that was one where, basically it was mentioned in passing in one newspaper article that was about Asbury Green, which took place 30 years later. But the archives team, Matthew, Chris, were able to definitely add some more context to that case study that falls into that Upper Eastern Shore category. So that was welcome information as well. And that was still newspaper research, right, Chris? I think that was primarily newspaper. Thank you, D. Mays. Yep, absolutely. And as far as I know, the Caroline County cases or case have not gotten a lot of attention thus far. So that's definitely a good suggestion to keep on the radar as we go in that direction. So that's all that I have for discussion today. Mr. Mays, thank you so much. I'm getting down your contact information now. Appreciate you joining us today. So does anybody else have any announcements or points for discussion? All right. Well, I appreciate all your time. Again, some of the immediate or semi-immediate follow-up that we're hoping to be able to share with the public will be information about the January full commission meeting, and or if that is combined with the commissioner retreat that is in development. And we look forward to that being our best opportunity to kind of jumpstart our 2023 and get our priorities and process further articulated. But as always, you can reach out to me if you have any questions on the research side or opportunities to collaborate. But otherwise, hope everybody has taken some time off from work and getting some time with your families. Whatever holidays you may celebrate, enjoy them, and we'll see you again in 2023.
Same to you, David.
Same to you, David.
Okay.
Thank you. Happy
Everybody
holidays,
have a good
everyone.
holiday.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
All right.
Here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.